Hey guys, it's the Pig King here. Now, if you may recall, back in October of last year, I covered the amazing Digital Circus pilot. I talked about how fascinated I was with the show's concept, but felt like a few things just needed a little more work to be better, and for a pilot, that's perfectly fine. But now that the pilot was over half a year ago now, and we now have a new episode, did things get better or did they get worse? Well, surprisingly, they got better. Now, you might be wondering why I'm so shocked at this. Well, it comes down to a few things. First, let me just say, this video contains some spoilers, so be sure to watch the original video on the Glitch channel before watching this one, because stuff like this, it really needs our support, and I think you should definitely watch it if you're into this sort of indie animation weird style, and I highly recommend it. So go watch it first and then come back to this, and then anyway, back to what I was saying. Why was I surprised? Well, it comes down to two things. First, it's surprisingly very rare for a show, especially an indie show, to not only do better than the first go, but to improve on the major issues from what came before. And two, it's Glitch Productions. Now let me be clear, I don't hate Glitch, not at all. I've just never been a big fan of their work. Meta Runner, Murder Drones, they all felt to me like something was missing, like a piece of the puzzle just wasn't fitting. I don't know whether it was just like it didn't feel as polished as it should be. I don't know, it's just not quite, it didn't quite click with me. But with Digital Circus, from the get-go, it had me hooked. With the dark tones, misleading nature, it was fascinating. But it being under Glitch and seeing how it got turned into content farm bullshit, I was legitimately fearful that this episode would suffer, as they made mention to it in a little short that they did not too long ago. I was worried that they tried to lean into that a little bit more, make fun of themselves, make fun of the content farm BS, and lose what made it special, the pilot. But I'm so glad to be wrong. This episode was legitimately a blast from start to finish. This episode felt exactly as it should, with this starting out as very misleading as usual, with the Candy Kingdom quests and all the wacky characters doing wacky things. It was all very standard, which helped lower my security, because when they eventually do go darker, it felt really interesting and even quite shocking. The idea of having an NPC forced to face the reality that they are an NPC was just absolutely brilliant for a show like this, and it showed in a way that felt very genuine. It wasn't just depressing, there was some legit character building, not just for Pomni here, but as well as this NPC character. And with Pomni, we see a much more sweeter side to her. It adds more layer to her character. It felt very comforting, and seeing her and the Gummy Croc bond was very sweet. But again, this is Digital Circus, so they have to stick to a status quo, and that's not a bad thing, by the way. It's done very smart here. Most things they just forget that they have a status. Take Hell of a Boss. They have a status quo, they always go back to it, and it ends up costing them because they constantly go back on what they've done. But here, it's very different with it, because at the end of the episode here, you think Croc's going to be a new member, but no, they just kill him off in an instant, and it is not subtle, it's not given build-up, it's just so sudden, and I feel like that could only work in a show like this. It was so effective with how it worked. It helps to keep it in mind for everyone. This is not going to be a happy show. This will do some serious stuff to your mental health. Everyone's reaction to that scene was just Pommy's reaction to that scene. It was priceless. It was both shocking and yet strangely hilarious. It's hard to pin down. I just really liked that. It's so well written that it's able to effortlessly lower your guard and then sucker punch you with something shocking, and they do it really well. Another thing I liked was the animation. It's clearly gotten a lot better with the textures, lighting, the cartoony sort of style. It all felt janky, but clean in the best of way. And even the little animation jokes and them using it in the story, all that jankiness and behind the scenes sort of stuff, it felt like a really smart implement and was such a cool idea. Even the characters got a lot more fun here. With the characters outside of Pomni, the other circus members, they're so one-dimensional caricatures that it strangely works. The way they're able to keep both serious and silly sides together in this show is done really well, and I probably will make another video just talking about that because there's a lot I could talk about there. So overall, I really liked this episode. It had just the right amount of improvements from the first one, all the balls to the walls silliness, but the dab of dark, serious mystery. The closest thing I can compare this show's tone to is Scooby-Doo, and that was because of how well that Scooby-Doo was able to balance silly and scary at times, which is such a risky combination, but when it works, it really works. So far, I'm very excited to see what these people do next, and I really want to see where they go from here. So for me, I'm giving this episode a solid 7 out of 10. Now, you might be wondering, why is it not higher if I like it so much? Well, it's because I feel like this episode was just the building blocks for something. They felt like they could do a bit more in a way. This episode was like a test run in a way, for even bigger ones coming in the future. And for that, I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect as a little build-up to help people get familiar with how this world works in order to go further out in the future. So yeah, for now, I'm giving this a 7. And with that, I will see you all next time.